Good evening. It is Monday, January 27th, 2020, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Lansing City Council Committee of the Whole to order and ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein. Here. Councilmember Spitzley. Here. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Betts.
Present.
And Councilmember Garza.
Thank you. A quorum is present, and I've received no word that any council members need an excused absence this evening. We do need a motion to approve the minutes from January 13th, 2020. Council Vice President Hussein.
I'd move the minutes of January 13th, 2020 as presented.
It's been moved by Vice President Hussein. Any revisions or no? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council? No, the committee, excuse me. Seeing none, we'll move on to our resolutions for action. The first item is the appointment of Nathan Triplett as a City of Lansing member on the Capital Area Transportation Authority Board with a term to expire September 30th, 2021. Mr. Triplett, if you want to join us up here at either of the podiums and make sure that the green light is on. We've been asked by the administration to consider this appointment. The vacancy that was created by an outgoing member is now causing some problems for conducting CATA business, so we're moving this along. Mr. Triplett has served on the CATA board in previous appointments for different responsibilities, and now as a resident of the City of Lansing is being appointed by Mayor Shore to fill out this term. I'll open it up to him to answer any other questions, but if there are questions from the council members. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome. First of all, thank you for agreeing to serve. I really appreciate it. One of the things I think last year there were some ongoing labor issues with CATA. And, you know, I know you're coming in and you're new, and I'm not quite sure all that you can do, but it's more of a statement is that, you know, I would hope that you would be open to looking at that, and when, you know, contracts come up, keep that in mind. You've got a number of folks who are trying to, you know, we have a company that's out of the country, and they were having some concerns and trying to unionize. And so to the extent that there's something you can do moving forward, I would just ask that you would look at that with a critical eye.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Spitzley. I appreciate that. Just for the council's awareness, there are sort of two separate labor issues that have come up recently with CATA. First, and the one that is occupying most of the board's time right now, is our negotiation with the ATU local that represents CATA's directly employed operators. We're hopefully now coming very close to concluding that collective bargaining process on favorable terms for both sides. We've always prided ourselves on having a strong relationship with the ATU, and I think that that will continue through this process, although there's obviously some difficult conversations. The situation you're referencing is in one of CATA's contract services with TransDev providing spec trans service, and you know, it has been our position throughout this process with the employees there, and will continue to be, that CATA's operating arrangement with TransDev requires paying pay and benefits at a level commensurate with the region. We pride ourselves on that, and we'll continue to support folks in that effort. It's a big change for CATA to have a new contractor there, and it's something that the board has been keeping a very close eye on, and we will need to, but certainly being from Lansing and the long-term history we have with the ATU of helping provide top-class service here, it's a priority for me. It has been during my time on the board when I represented East Lansing there, and it'll continue to be representing the City of Lansing if I'm given the opportunity. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Nathan, for being here today. And again, I know that you have been serving on the board. This would just be in a different jurisdiction's position. My concern is similar to Councilmember Spitzley's, but in the vulnerable population that I serve outside of my council realm with our seniors, we have received a number of complaints about some of the services with the SpecTran, and I know I've addressed them directly with the general manager and talked about those. But I would encourage you, I know you do some evaluations and things like that for riders, But I would encourage where there are populations, and again, that utilize a number of Spectran rides, that you work more closely with getting feedback from them. Oftentimes, our seniors will complain to someone they're familiar with, are reluctant to make some complaints otherwise because that is their only means of transportation. And the thought of not having it, or the thought that they might end up with more problems because of it, they are reluctant to express some of those concerns. So I would encourage you, as you move forward in this and are looking at evaluating the services that this contract firm is giving. And I realize that you have a number of the drivers that came from Dean's that have moved over there, but you also had some new hires in there. The idea that part of the scheduling, when you have 3 to 5 people coming to the same site and even live back at a close proximity, are sitting there and waiting hours because one Spectran won't pick up that person and take them with them, it creates a bad atmosphere for, again, and anxiety for the seniors that are utilizing those services. So I would encourage you, as you're looking at that, to remember those things.
Councilmember Wood, I certainly appreciate your comment, and I think statistically, if we look at the prior contractor and the new contractor, things like on-time performance have actually improved significantly, but the fact remains, to your point, if there is one Spectran rider, especially folks who are using this service as their sole or at least primary mode of transportation, if they're not able to get where they need to go at the time they need to go in a way that's convenient and not feel like it's a challenge, then that's a problem for our system. You all have heard in the past from our CEO, Brad Funkhauser, and individuals who have preceded me in this board about their commitment to continuing to work on that, and it'll be a priority for us going forward. And if you were to attend a CATA board meeting, you'd see, despite the fact that it's a relatively small portion of the overall service that we provide, a great deal of our conversation is around complimentary paratransit because, to your point, these are the folks who are most dependent upon this service, and we're blessed to have more than one member of our board who are Spectran riders, who bring that perspective to the board, the local advisory council who does it, and to try and make sure that we get to a point, I'm not naive. There will probably never be a point where 100% of the riders are satisfied 100% of the time, but that's the goal that we should be striving for and taking it very seriously. So I take your comments to heart.
I also do know that there have been some difficulties, especially on the south end, with having to traverse getting from one side of the south end to the other and having to come to downtown to turn around to go back, to the other side of the south end. And that's not Spectran, that's CATA. I know you're always evaluating those routes and looking at those, but when you have somebody that's sitting on a bus for an hour just to go what would be essentially across town, to have to come back here and around the bend is difficult as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, I know when last I was here with Brad, with our CEO, we had some conversations about challenges elsewhere in the city of Lansing as well. One of the things I really appreciate about Brad's approach and the team he has put together is an openness to take routes that may have been configured a certain way for a long period of time and say, just because that's how we've always done it in the past doesn't mean it's how we should continue to do it in the future, and look at better both route optimization from an efficiency standpoint, but also making user experience the primary issue for ease of accessibility and whatnot. So certainly we've always welcomed feedback from members of this council and others in the community when they've encountered challenges with CATA service. And if I were to serve as a representative for the city of Lansing, I would welcome all of you to be in contact with myself and Brad and the other 3 representatives that the city of Lansing has on the board about those challenges when they arise, so that we can make sure they're getting into that process of planning and seeing, is there a better way to do this that will serve our customers better? I'd welcome you all to do that, and would certainly hope that that communication would be frequent.
And one of the questions that I normally ask appointees is, how, as a representative of the city of Lansing, are you going to get feedback and input to the board that you're sitting on? What are some of the goals, and how do you intend to reach out to the Lansing community?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really great about the city of Lansing, and that CATA has maybe not done as good of a job as it should have in the past, that I look forward to being a bigger part of, is that there is this incredible network of neighborhood associations and community organizations that people are already organizing and have a conduit to share information. But because of the unique nature of CATA as a regional authority that has multiple jurisdictions, it hasn't necessarily always been the authority's strong suit to do proactive outreach to those organizations and say, you may not have a complaint that you've brought to me, but I'm coming to you, and maybe you have nothing to say to me tonight at this meeting, but I'll be here so that you can offer that input. And one of the blessings for the city of Lansing, because representation is done on a population basis for CATA, is you have 4 positions, and frankly, the ability between the staff and those 4 people to help go to these various neighborhood association and other civic association groups and gather that that input, in addition, of course, to input from this council, the mayor's office, and others, organizations that are in the community. But I think that just because CATA isn't a municipal government doesn't mean it shouldn't be responsive to the electorate that approves its millage and the electorate that uses its services. And I think that we need to do a more robust job about that proactive outreach, and not just saying, we're here, if you have a problem, call me. We need to go to the people in those places and say, have you thought about offering your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, so we can improve our service?
I totally agree, and Lansing can make or break a millage.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. Councilmember Betts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for coming to Lansing, Nathan. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you for being willing to serve. I have 2 questions for you. The first being, in my ward in particular, I have a lot of people who, we have accessibility issues to the current bus lines, and one thing that a lot of people brought to me was maybe expanding those bus lines into more underserved neighborhoods. And I was wondering what your position is on that, if you have actively worked to expand lines as your tenure in East Lansing, and if you're planning on doing that here. And then I'll ask the second question after. Thanks.
Yeah, so in response to your first question, similar to what I said earlier, certainly we're always looking for a way to create a network that serves the community best, and that has included several service expansions during the 10 years that I've been on the board, and also contractions in areas where we were doing things that frankly didn't make sense. Again, just because you have an organization like CATA that has been operating in this community now for close to 50 years doesn't mean what worked 10, 20, 30 years ago will still work today. And I, again, at the risk of being repetitive, really appreciate the innovative spirit that the staff and our current board, which is relatively new, have brought to the table of saying, not to begin with, let's talk about a bus station or let's talk about a bus route, but what are we trying to accomplish in terms of mobility for people? And then, can CATA serve that best? If so, how can we configure it? And how can we work with other partners, whether it's other regional transit agencies, transportation network companies, others, to make sure that we are having a conversation not just about, well, how does CATA do a thing, but how do we as a region do something in a way that serves people's needs? So that's a longer answer to your question. The short answer is absolutely. We look at that, the board looks at that from a policy perspective, and we are open to feedback and want to make sure that those issues are addressed, so we provide a system that works for everybody.
Great, thank you. And that is a great answer. I'm glad that you're thinking about this innovatively. I think that's the way that we need to approach this. My second question is, where do you sit on promoting green initiatives in public transit? Obviously, with fuel efficiency and things like that, and electric vehicles coming up in the future, what do you envision as our investment in that moving forward from the standpoint of CATA?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, because it has been a priority of mine since I became the chair of the CATA board 2 years ago. To give you 2 examples, we have now adopted during that time CATA's first sustainability plan, which deals with a number of dimensions of energy and environmental sustainability, and have begun to implement the recommendations in that plan. But to call out one example, the second thing I would mention that I'm particularly proud of, because we're in Lansing, because of the Board of Water and Light, is we have developed a partnership with the Lansing Board of Water and Light, where CATA is now getting 100% of its electric demand from renewable sources between leases of solar capacity in the East Lansing Solar Park and the balance through the Board of Water and Light's Greenwise Energy Program. That was something that I worked very hard on within the authority, and thanks to staff that was willing to take a little risk, a board that was willing to make an investment, and the Board of Water and Light being willing to accommodate a relatively large electric user, We've now accomplished that and are moving on, to your point, to think about what's next in terms of the vehicles themselves, the electrification, of our fleet, and making sure that we're staying on the cutting edge of sustainability efforts, because I believe and our authority believes when we talk about sustainability, not just of the system, but the region, public transit should be the leading edge of that effort, and we intend to play that role to the extent that we have partners in the region who share that vision with us.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Triplett? Oh, Councilmember Wood.
Follow up on Councilmember Bett's question. How much of the Tri-County Regional Planning money is being used for looking at energy-efficient vehicles?
So at this point, we have done some initial purchases of vehicles for CATA's fleet. To be honest with you, Councilmember Wood, at this point, the electric technology is something that we haven't felt comfortable fully investing in, given some of the challenges in Lansing, but you will see in 2020, we just actually completed our board retreat and financial planning for the next year. The first electric buses, fully electric buses that CATA will be operating in a test phase coming on in the next year, so that we can really see how to make that technology work. And obviously, Tri-County's funding of capital assets will be a critical part of that in the future. For folks who might not have followed CATA as closely, if you were to go back 2 years, we had an extremely aged bus fleet. We have, since that time, gone through a procurement process, both for our large buses, articulated and otherwise, and small bus, brought on a new provider. You've seen these buses around town. They've got the sleeker, cleaner look of just saying CATA, and otherwise are white, that are helping restore that fleet with purchases for Nova Bus. That will continue in this year, and sustainability has been a big part of that. But before we make a huge investment of taxpayer dollars in, let's say, going like that to electrify the fleet, we want to make sure that the technology that is available will work for our region, that we have the infrastructure in our region to support it, and that we can defend the investment so that we don't have a long-term problem with being able to do it. So there isn't right now a particular vehicle I could point to on the electric side that we have yet purchased with Tri-County money, but you're going to see it in the upcoming year, at least in that pilot phase.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. How, if any, would your approach change from basically being East Lansing to Lansing?
Councilmember Jackson, could you please double check your mic on?
Yes, sorry. How, if any, would your approach change from being a representative of East Lansing to a representative of Lansing?
That's a great question. I mean, I think, to be quite frank, a lot of it would remain fairly consistent, but one of the challenges for the hub of our region, the city of Lansing, has always been recognizing that a regional transit system builds out from that hub and is centered on this hub, and that many of the challenges we face are frankly the ability to get folks where they need to go within that central space. And I think you have all been blessed, frankly, having had the opportunity to serve with them for many years, of having representatives from the city of Lansing on the CATA board who recognize that Lansing has to be central to all of those conversations. And while outlying communities are also important and are represented on the board, that the success or failure of the system turns on the success or failure of the city of Lansing and its transportation network. And when we look at some of the complicated issues we've dealt with in the recent past, I do think there's a slightly different vantage point being from the city of Lansing than there would be from East Lansing or Meridian Township or whatnot. To give you one example, lots of controversy has historically surrounded bus service near the Lansing Mall, because we cross a jurisdictional boundary into Eaton County, where technically the taxpayers of Eaton County currently are not contributing anything to the support of that service. But if you get on that bus right now, you can ride it to the Lansing Mall and be able to ride it back, and we don't do that because the priority for CATA is making sure that everybody is paying, and that we're going to penalize riders because the Eaton County Board of Commissioners and the Delta Township Board haven't chosen to opt into the authority or contract with the authority yet. The important decision-making criterion is there are Lansing residents that need to be able to access that area of the community who would be penalized by discontinuing that service, and there are folks from that area of Eaton County and Delta Township who need public transit to get into the city of Lansing for work, medical appointments, recreation, you name it. And so I think that kind of approach, to use a specific example, is recognizing what do the people who ride this system and the communities that it serves, chiefly Lansing, need out of the system, and using that as the decision-making criterion, not just looking at it from a more parochial approach of what's in it for me. Because I do think, frankly, I felt this way as a representative from East Lansing as well. The system will be successful or it will fail based on our ability to build out from that central hub in the city of Lansing.
Any further questions for Mr. Triplett? Okay, seeing none, I would ask for a motion on the resolution. Councilmember.
So moved.
Resolution has been moved by Vice President Hussein. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Triplett will approve this tonight at City Council, where the city clerk will be if you want to be sworn in tonight. Otherwise, anytime after tonight, you can join him in the clerk's office for that. Thank you. Next item is a resolution appointing Michael Redding as an at-large member of the Board of Review with a term to expire June 30th, 2021. As you're aware, the Board of Review must meet in March to review the tax rolls of the city. There is some training that needs to take place in the month of February, so we are moving that this evening. And Michael Redding, if you'd like to take a seat there, and we'll open it up to questions from the council, unless you'd like to start with a brief introduction.
There we go. I'd like Nathan to come up and answer my questions for me. You did a great job.
I don't think so. Is there anything you'd like to start with before we open up to questions? No, sir, I don't think so. Very good. Is there, folks, questions for Mr. Redding? Councilmember Wood.
Mike, why do you think you're qualified for this particular position?
I didn't prepare for that answer. I believe I'm qualified because of my years as a member of the Lansing, a taxpayer. Many a times I wanted to come to this board that I'm applying for and say, I need my taxes brought back down. And I never did, because I didn't understand the process. This will give me a chance to learn the process and help the people that want to come and have their taxes adjusted so that they understand why those taxes are being requested the way they are.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there further questions for Mr. Redding? All right.
I guess I better ask my
Oh, you better ask.
Yeah.
Hold on. You-
my usual question. But knowing Mike as well as I do, Mike, as a representative of the Board of Review, how do you intend to work with the public to help them understand this board and what it brings to the community?
Oh, and you can't say what Nathan said. You can't, that can't be your answer.
I'm not sure that I can answer that question yet without training so that I know what it is that I am doing. To provide you an answer now may not be the answer that would be after I had my training so that I could correctly answer that question. Because right now I don't believe I can.
But you're engaged in the community,
Yes,
you need The
ma'am.
witness.
and you would continue to be engaged once you've got the training to talk about the board. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's,
Aren't there any lawyers on here going to object to that leading of the witness? Vice President Hussein.
No, I just want to state, with regards to Michael, I've worked with Michael at length over the last 4 years. Michael is the current president of the Churchill Downs Neighborhood Association. He's a member of Rejuvenating South Lansing. He is a participant in the Southwest Action Group. He is one of our Lansing Harmony Celebration Steering Committee members. When we talk about engagement in the community, I don't think it gets better than that. With regards to what he needs to learn to be a competent member of this board, I do know that there's some forthcoming training for you, and I know you to be hardworking, studious. So I have absolutely no doubt that you will learn what you need to learn. And more important, maybe than anything, Michael possesses loads of integrity, and I think that's really, really important for this position. So I'm happy to support you tonight, Michael.
Thank you. And if I may address Councilmember Wood, after I have received my training, I would be more than welcome to come back here and answer that question to your satisfactory.
thank you.
We'll probably be filling your position because you've run screaming from the room after the training. All right, so no further questions from the committee. I'd ask for a motion on the resolution appointing Michael Redding as an at-large member for the Board of Review. Councilmember Hussein.
I'm very happy to move the appointment for Michael Redding as an at-large member of the Board of Review for a term to expire June 30th of 2021.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hussein. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Redding, we will vote again this evening at council. If you wish to stick around, we can swear you in tonight. If you want to come back tomorrow, we can do it here at the clerk's office.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And the final item is the resolution, the third amendment to the Articles of Incorporation for the Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority. The committee met to discuss these on January 13th. There were no serious reservations or questions, but it is now ready to be moved on by this committee, so I'll need a motion. Councilmember Hussein.
I would move the resolution for the Third Amendment to the Articles of Incorporation for the Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Wood.
Could we get an explanation if this is passed on Monday or tonight, when this will take effect?
As long as Jim provides it, yes.
It's statutory, so there has to be a notice filed with the clerks for the county of Ingham and Eaton, I believe, also. And then filed, there has to be a publication, and then it gets filed with the Office of the Great Seal. And once the notice has been published, and that proof provided to the Office of the Great Seal, then we file with the Office of the Great Seal. After having filed with the county clerks, then it will be effective. So we're probably talking about 30 days.
About 30 days. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Before we move on to the next item, I have a few just dates for the committee to consider. On February 17th at 6 p.m., we will do our annual training. This is the mandatory training with multiple departments. We'll do that here at City Hall at 6 p.m. On the 24th of February, we will be taking council photos. We have updated headshots and group photo to take. That'll be done at 4:30 p.m. We're asking folks to arrive at 4:30 so that we can do the group shot and then do the headshots on our way into the committee of the whole. So if you can't be there, try to be, but please let us know. And then finally, looking out a bit, the Board of Water and Light Committee of the Whole joint meeting will be March 30th, 2020, hosted by our friends at the Board of Water and Light. Please make sure you get agenda request items to Sherry by the 1st of March. We'll obviously, if something urgent comes up, entertain other items, but try to get those ahead of time so that the board has a chance to prepare those. All right, next item is we're looking for a motion from Councilmember Hussein.
Sorry, let me get comfortable here. I hereby move that we recess into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268H of the Open Meetings Act to consult with the city attorney to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute, specifically to discuss a written legal opinion from the city attorney provided under attorney-client privilege, and pursuant to MCL 15.26E, to consult with the city attorney in connection with the following specific pending litigation. An open meeting will have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the Lansing City Council concerning these issues. Get comfortable. Block 100 versus City of Lansing, Lansing Building Authority. Burwell as personal representative for the estate of Phillips versus City of Lansing, Anderson, Liskowitz, Kelly, Oderkirk, and Riddenauer. Lee Chen versus Lansing Police Department, Garcia and Fearnow. City of Lansing versus Angevine Holdings LLC. City of Lansing versus Brassington, Gillespie, Burke, and Powers, and intervening defendant Lansing Firefighters Association Local 421. City of Lansing Treasury versus Rachel Brown. City of Lansing versus Michael Coleman. City of Lansing and others versus Purdue Pharma and others. City of Lansing versus Reynolds, Patrick Reynolds. Jane Doe versus the City of Lansing, Lansing Public Schools, Lansing Board of Education. Yvonne Canule, Mark Coscarella, Donna Pohl, Matthew Priebe, Kimberly Petroff, and other unidentified does. Blakey Funchess and others versus the City of Lansing and others. Funk versus the City of Lansing and others. Gardner versus Evans and others. Holsey versus Weber and others. Hill versus Whitford and others. Greenwave Naturals LLC versus the Lansing City Clerk. Jackson and Lansing Railroad Company versus South Street LLC. SC Environmental Services LLC, John Kendrick Sears, Norfolk Southern Railway Company, City of Lansing, Josema Concrete Construction, Inc., and Hamilton Mutual Insurance Company. Lansing versus Star Indemnity and Liability Co., Ellie Battle Creek versus Clerk, City of Lansing, Lansing Medical Marijuana Commission, Michael Lynn versus City of Lansing, Michigan Protection and Advocacy Service versus City of Lansing, Motorist Mutual Insurance Company versus City of Lansing and others, and La Phil Gallery LLC and others versus City of Lansing and others. The Estate of Spalding versus Eaton County, City of Lansing, Ingham County, and others. Trevino Hydro World versus Blackburn, Allen, Carter, Shields, and the City of Lansing. ELNA Investment Company, LLC versus the Board of Water and Light and others. Re-Rail Freight Fuel Surcharge Antitrust Litigation, McLaren Healthcare Corporation versus City of Lansing, Linwood Penn LLC, EFH, Pamela Frog LLC, Americo Real Estate Company, Durga Properties Holdings, Inc., Landrop LLC, RE Fund Lansing LLC, Lansing Properties I LLC, Lansing Country Club, DNF Terminal LLC, Crown Enterprises, Everett Plaza, Washington Equity Partners, and Darling Building LLC.
You all set? All right. It's been moved by Councilmember Hussein, what he said. Any discussion on that? We'll need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Spatafor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley? Yes. Councilmember Jackson? Councilmember Dunbar? Councilmember Betts?
Yes.
Councilmember Garza? Yes. Councilmember Hussein?
That is 7-1.
Yes.
That is a sufficient number. Do we need the other motion as well? Or was that all in there? Oh, no, very good. Okay. We are in closed session. No. The committee has come back from closed session. At 6:49, the Committee of the Whole of the Lansing City Council is adjourned.